I've had a plethora of comments over the past couple of weeks on several different videos on what do I need to start working on my own stuff at my house. Now, some people are going to think this video is a little contradicting, being that I'm a shop owner working a shop and have been for about 10 years, give or take. And they're probably gonna be like, well, why are you encouraging people to work on their own stuff at their house? Wouldn't that take away business from you? Not necessarily, because here's the thing. One, I'm never going to hold back any knowledge that I can provide to you guys in order to work on your own stuff at your house and make you a more efficient bow shooter in general. Bow shooter, that sounded dumb. Archery expert, just kidding, there's no such thing. In short, if you guys ask for it, I'm more than likely going to explain it and give you the information that you need to the best of my knowledge. Unless it's something in the industry that I have no knowledge about, then I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I will go ahead and tell you, if you're looking to buy everything at once in order to work on your own bow, fletching, cutting arrows, the whole 9 yards at your house, get ready to ask permission from the wife first. I'm going to shoot from the hip, and between the saw, which comes with a lot of stuff, we're going to go over that item first, the bow press, the scales, the vise, the draw boards, all that, you're probably going to be just shy of 2 G's to get everything that you need that's not a piece of junk. Because I promise you, there is some equipment out there that I'm not going to mention in this video because I don't want to make a recommendation. I would rather you be mad at me for recommending something that's a little bit more expensive versus something that's cheaper, but it's not going to work nearly as good as something that's a few dollars more, or a couple $100s more, depending on what we're talking about. So, the first thing I'm going to highly recommend, and just so y'all know it, not everything that I'm going to show y'all and recommend for you is available on my website, so you know it's going to be completely unbiased. Just because I don't sell it doesn't mean it's not necessarily a good product. It just means I can't sell it in my particular area, or I haven't had enough requests for it on my website. However, this item is on my website. This is the Mod Saw. Very small company. I think there's 2 owners, very young men. And I'm not saying that as a pity, please buy it. No, they're doing a great job, and that's just a little bit more enticement for the buyer in general. So obviously, Mod Saw, it is the way it sounds. It is a saw to cut your arrows, and it doesn't just do carbon arrows. It can do your aluminum arrows like your FMJs as well. Now, here's the cool thing about this. Now, typically, when you get into arrow building, you obviously need a saw, an arrow square, and a spinner. This has all 3 in one for less than $200. But there's 2 different ones. I have to go back on the website and look. Here's a regular version and a deluxe version. You can connect a vacuum to it. It's got different coupling sizes depending on the size vacuum you have. But let me give you a little bit of a close-up on this bad girl. So literally with the turn of a finger, you can adjust to whatever length you want your arrows cut. The blade's down here. And depending on how consistently short or long your arrows are, you may want a different end post as far as the length goes to be able to set it to wherever you want, so that when you spin the arrow onto the blade, you're not bowing down the arrow shaft, and that way you get a good clean cut every single time. Now, obviously modular, same thing goes into effect with the arrow spinners. So, I got one right here. So I would actually, for this particular arrow, I would actually slide this spinner back in order to kind of evenly distribute the weight of the arrow, so that way I get a good even spin every single time. Now on top of that, where they've got the arrow spinners already preset, they also have your arrow squarer right here, which this is just a little rounded piece of sandpaper. You can pop these in and out and replace them, and they send like 5 or 6 with each order, if I'm not mistaken. And the last thing this little booger has, which once again already in line with your arrow spinner and your square, is a broadhead tester. This little thing right here, once again, you can put it wherever you want, up and down the saw. It's got a little, I don't know if y'all can see that, a little black check mark right there. And what that allows you to do is, once you completely build your arrow, wrap, fletch, and all that good jazz, screw on your broadhead, you can spin it on the spinner and see if you have any wobble on your broadhead. And I also forgot to mention, this thing is super quiet. There are other saws out there that are much more powerful, like the one we use at our shop, which granted we're doing thousands of arrows a week, so it makes more sense. But for somebody at home just doing a few dozen here and there, you really can't beat it in my opinion. And since we're already on the topic of arrows, the next thing you're going to want is a fletching jig. And there is a huge debate out there on what's the best, what do you recommend, yada yada yada. There's two that I recommend. One is going to be the good old-fashioned Bitzenberger. We ran those for years. They're great jigs until October Mountain came out with the Phoenix, and I will have to say I do like this one a decent bit better, obviously enough to switch to it, than the Bitzenberger. It has a much stronger magnet than the Bitzenberger, which allows you to push your fletching down onto the arrow shaft and leave it there, which a lot of times out of habit I just hold it anyways, but it's going to give you a lot better point of contact between your carbon shaft or wrap and the fletching itself. Of course, it has all three different fletching configurations: your 90 degree, which is your 3 fletch, your 120 degree, which is your stereotypical 4 fletch, and then your 75 by 105 4 fletch, which is the one I call the X-Wing Fighter. As far as setting it, you can also do a 1 to 5 or 0 to 5 degree offset / helical. I'm usually a 3 to 2 guy. I don't even know if I've ever even tried a 4 or 5. Don't really plan on it. But as far as setting these up for each individual arrow based off the diameter, to me it's a little lot easier, for being honest, than a Bitzenberger. So if you can get your hands on a Phoenix, we're supposed to be getting quite a few in the next few weeks, hopefully. I have it on good authority, but I'm not holding my breath. But if you can find one, get it. You won't be disappointed. But if you can't, just go with a Bitzenberger. They're a little bit easier to get right now. And then it'll of course still do the job for you. The next thing you're gonna want is a way to check the poundage on your bow. And Last Chance Archery has the 4HS right here, the handheld. And this little nifty ordeal right here does everything. It tells you your peak weight, your holding weight, and the percentage of let off just by turning it on, clipping onto your D-loop, drawing the bow back. Oh yeah, shot a lot this week, didn't you, Scotty? So it's telling me this bow is peak weight 70.6, let off is 82.4%, and holding weight is 12.4 in the back wall. So it literally tells you everything you need to know about your peak weight, let off, draw cycle, the whole 9 yards right here in the palm of your hand. Once again, Last Chance Archery. When it comes to bow vices, October Mountain, they really honestly take the cake in this category as well. This is the micro adjust bow vise. I think that's the actual term they use on their website. It does everything you need it to, and then some. Obviously, it holds the bow, because it'd be a pretty bad bow vise if it didn't. You can cinch it down, and let me pop these bars off so I can get a little flexible with it. Which way does I need to go? That way. And you can literally rotate the bow pretty much any direction you need it to. So for example, like the way I just had it just then, once I tie my nocking points and the D-loop, I like to lay it down and burn my D-loop with the bow almost at a 90-degree angle so that the flame goes up so I don't burn anything on the string. And then when I'm setting center shot or doing some axis adjustments, these little knobs right here allow me to cant the bow left and right and up and down. So this one, it's a pretty pricey piece, but I can guarantee you, once again, especially if you're one of those guys that buys a new bow every year and you're the one that wants to set it up, you're going to want to make this investment if you want to set your bow up correctly, because there are some other vices out there, obviously, but none that actually take as much work out of it for you as this one does. Well, now we're getting into the divorce attorney category. If you're going to restring your own bow or change the timing on a lot of the bows out there, I know some of them you can change the timing without a press now, but you're still going to need a draw board, which I know there's also draw boards out there that don't require a press, but we're just going to keep it simple and assume that whoever's watching this video is going to get a bow press and also needs a draw board, which the nice thing about this Last Chance Easy Green is the draw board attaches to the bow press. So obviously you need this to collapse your bow in order to restring it, or God forbid you dry fire it and need to change cams, or actually not even that, but let's say you have one of the old, it's kind of weird saying old school Matthews, even though it was just a year ago they still had top hats. But if you need to change top hats or shims on any bows, you're going to need a press as well. The Last Chance Easy Green is almost unarguably one of the most recognizable bow presses in the industry. Like I said, there are a couple others out there. I've looked at them and they work, don't get me wrong, but for my needs, it's really tough to beat this company. Once again, in my opinion, you can go as deep into all the accessories as you want with the bow press. Obviously, you're going to want the fingers, which they come already standard, which is where you put your limbs in order to collapse the bow. You can get a little tool tray, some of these little magnet trays, but on the actual draw board itself, now they actually, this past year at ATA, dropped a new draw board. I do not have it yet. This is their original one, which still works fine, which we are going to get the new ones for the shop because the ones at the shop are shot out. But this one, considering how much I use it here, I'm not going to switch anytime soon. The rope's still good. It does everything I need it to. But this just obviously allows you to get the bow at full draw. Let your post hit the cables. Check your timing. If you see that one mod is faster than the other or stop is faster than the other, then you can put it in the press, change the timing, put it back in the draw board, see if you did it right or not. Oh, also for your cable driven arrow rest, this is great for timing them as well. I don't have to worry about that since I mainly run Hamskys, but if you got a QAD or some of the other brands out there and you're serving the control cable to the rest into the cable on your bow, it's a really good tool to have to time it perfectly based off your draw length or the draw length on that particular bow. And one of the last little things you're going to need is a grainage scale. Once again, Last Chance Archery provides these. This is the Pro Grain Scale 2.0. Wow, I'm missing a piece to it. But there's supposed to be a little, like a little arrow holder right here that you slide your arrow in. And obviously, it tells you what the total arrow weight is, the barrel shaft, or whatever you put on there. Maybe you got a bucket full of field tips and you don't know which ones are 100 and which ones are 125. This will be able to tell you. So that's definitely key. Or if you're a guy that's really chasing high FOC and you want to weigh everything, the fletching, the nocks, collars, all that good jazz, this is going to help you do the math on that. I almost forgot a very important tool. Oh, D-loop pliers. These are pretty essential for putting on a D-loop, obviously. These are from Easton. I've had quite a few other ones. I've had the ones from OMP. This is the pair that I really like personally. Number one, the pliers themselves, whether it was designed for it or not, but this is what I use it for, they're kind of toothy right there at the end, which allows me, as I'm kind of getting on the D-loop, tightening it up, I can also close up my knots, because if you've ever noticed on your D-loop, if you get on there and just squeeze as hard as you can just to set it that one time, a lot of times the knots will be open, and that's not really safe. I mean, even though they typically do hold, I always recommend taking some pliers and closing those knots up and then really getting on it. Also, that reminds me, there's a couple other tools for, let's see here. This little hook right here is probably the most useful tool for taking serving off a peep or any kind of knocking point or string in general when it comes to serving. And this fine little archery device right here is made by Icon, which I'm pretty sure I picked these up at my local Harbor Freight. I mean, I don't know if carpenters typically use them or what. I have no idea. It's not my, I'm not even gonna pretend like I know. But I've also picked up similar tools at Home Depot as well. So that's an easy one to find. And the last couple of things that you're gonna need for your at-home shop that I probably should have mentioned while I was talking about the vise, because they kind of go hand in hand, is levels. October Mountain also makes a couple bow levels. They just snap on to the string. They tell you if you're straight, left and right, up and down, all that good jazz for when you're setting your knocking point or your axis. And then Hamsky also makes a axis level that attaches to the sight, which you can also attach to the bow for your third axis. Once again, I don't have those here, but you can look them up on those companies' websites. Other than that, I don't know if I'm forgetting anything or not. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comment section. Appreciate y'all watching as always, guys, sincerely. I hope this answered everybody's questions. I don't think I forgot anything. I was kind of going through my mind what I typically do as far as setting up a bow, and I think I covered everything. Once again, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comment section if I did forget, But if you feel like I didn't answer a question about a product or a tool that you may or may not need, drop it in the comment section, let me know, and we might see a video on that on the next one.